Welcome to the Meet Your Center interview series. I'm Jennifer Ciarimboli. I'm the founder and CEO of Studio B, and I'm really happy to be here today with the most amazing guest, Sid Montz. So, Sid.
Thank you, Jennifer. I always love talking to you. It's a pleasure, especially to be sharing this conversation with you, but turning our hearts outward.
Yes, Sid and I spent some time together earlier today, and it was supposed to be just a short check-in. And we ended up talking for some time, and it was really wonderful and lovely. And I said to Sid, I hope that we could replicate the energy that we shared this morning in our talk today with everyone.
I don't think we can control it. It just flows.
Right. Yes, I agree. Oh my goodness, here we go. We're like already.
I know.
Before we get in, I just wanted to introduce Sid formally. Sid and I met, was it 3 years ago?
Yeah. Was it more? No, it must be three. It must be about three. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago at the Wan Dharma Center, which is a retreat center in New York State. And it was funny because we were in silent retreat for the week, and you notice people, right, in the same flow, but you're not really looking at people, you're in your own field, and yet, like, I know I bumped into you a few times. You came into my full view throughout the week, and then on the closing day, we were grouped together in a small group.
I know, it is amazing that in silence you can make friends. That
yes.
The energies are still attracted and entangled, and it's beautiful.
Right.
And here we are now.
And here we are. And I have to share something kind of funny. I don't think I've shared this with you before, so it'll be fun to share with the group. But I remember after the retreat was over, like, my mind was blown. It was a pretty transformative experience for me. And so, like, I remember sitting in that small group, and I was feeling like really spiritual, like probably in an obnoxious way.
No, you were glowing. You had the glow.
I was really feeling it. Like, I was really feeling it. I was trying to, like, really live it in that moment. And like, I was trying to, like, speak in a really profound way, I think. I'm embarrassed. I feel like I'm embarrassed right now.
I don't remember it that way. We have two different things. You see, it's what our mind does to us.
Right.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
But then Sid, like, I talked before you, and then Sid talked, and he's like, I'm just a country guy from, New Orleans. And I was like, oh, humbled, like, and just open. And that was my first, like, oh, who is this guy? I need to know him better.
So, that's so sweet.
Yeah. So full circle. So, okay, let me do the formal, hold on one second. Okay. So I'm so happy to have you here with me today, Sid. And Sid is just an incredible teacher. He's a beloved member of the Studio B faculty, and we are honored to have him as part of Studio B. Sid Montz, and I have to say, I'm getting over a little cold, so I'm a little congested. So hopefully I pronounce everything properly. Sid was introduced to yoga, Tai Chi, and Buddhist meditation in 1987 in La Jolla, California, while studying at the University of California, San Diego. He continued his studies at Yogaworks, LA, where he became an RYT-500 certified yoga teacher. Sid went on to study yin yoga with internationally acclaimed master yoga teacher Bernie Clark at Semper Viva Yoga in Vancouver. While studying with Bernie Clark, Sid found his true calling as a yoga teacher. Sid was accepted to the Sarah and Ty Powers Insight Yoga Institute, to further his teaching interests, integrating yin-yang yoga, Buddhism, and transpersonal psychology into a skillful practice to balance the body, heart, and mind. He is also certified at restorative yoga and yoga nidra. While Sid has trained, practiced, and taught in many Buddhist traditions over the years, his primary teacher is Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh is a global spiritual leader, poet, and peace activist, revered around the world for his pioneering teachings on mindfulness, global ethics, and peace. Sid is on the faculty at the Tree Academy for Creative Arts, New Technology, and Social Justice, which is an innovative nonprofit school for 6th through 12th grade students in West Hollywood, California. He happily teaches the mandatory courses for all students in meditation and yoga. Deeply curious at heart, Sid encourages clients to get to know and honor their bodies and minds where they are today. In his offerings, he likes to guide students through an empowering, lighthearted, and meditative practice, giving the students the opportunity to relax and reconnect to their true nature. Welcome, Sid.
Ooh, wow. I just, that is very difficult to hear something, a bio written sitting here on the screen. And as it happened, I don't know, I guess I just was inspired to practice. And I just sat there listening because the anxiety and the like, oh, who is that? That's not me. And like, I'm really like a inspired yoga teacher, but letting the words just go and feeling the resistance in my body just now was very interesting. And hearing things put that way, because it's sort of, while those things are me in this form world that we are all in right now, I just feel like that it's a surface. But I'm so grateful to Jennifer, and I am very happy to have those elements of study that have in my life. And I'm a different person when that was written. I feel like, we constantly evolve, right? So who is Sid today? I'm not exactly sure, but we're just going to be open to it and see what happens.
Absolutely. So this week is International Happiness Week. And I don't think you realize how much joy you bring into a space, like virtual space, physical space. I hear this about you, and we've talked about it. And when people speak of you, they smile really big, and so for me, you're a great example of happiness. And I'd like to hear more. I'd like to share more about International Happiness Week, and Saturday was Happiness Day.
Right? Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. And I do most of the time in this realm of teaching, and I'm in a yoga studio, or I'm in a some sort of Buddhist learning situation or a teaching. I am very happy, and I'm reflecting back the energy coming to me, and it is a very happy place. I do my best when I'm not in these situations to maintain a sense of happiness. Doesn't always work out, I have the full human experience, but being here with you today, of course, is a source of happiness in itself. So it's easy to be happy. So when Jennifer mentioned about the interview today and what we would speak about, this past weekend, I was invited to be a part of an international group of teachers through the Thich Nhat Hanh lineage. It's called Wake Up International, and a dear friend of mine in Dublin who runs the program invited me. And it was amazing to see people from all over the world, these educators, and all such deep practice and really good hearts. But the first thing they were talking about was World Happiness Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really know about that, right? But what a wonderful thing. And it's the United Nations that puts this together. And I'm like, why don't Americans really look at this more, right? And why this is so important. But then I just read, and I have this here. So International Day of Happiness is observed every year all around the world on March 20th to highlight the importance of happiness in all people's lives. And that seems kind of simple and like a nice well wish, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the theme of the International Day of Happiness this year was happiness for all forever, right? Which implies that the significance of happiness for people all over the world. And it's really true um, that happiness makes everything go better. And the United Nations goes further into about economic development and everything else. And it just really touched me that uh, this important. I mean, we all kind of feel it. Yeah, it feels better to be happy. And when we're happy, the world goes better, right? But
Mm-hmm.
this is like really solid way, a way of thinking about it and articulating it. And we have that source in us all the time for happiness, real happiness, not a bypass happiness where we're pretending to be happiness and
Right.
really putting the unfun stuff over here. And like, I'm really happy. No, I'm really happy, you know. Uh, but we can access genuine happiness in the moment. We just forget. I forget, we all forget. All right.
Right. But it's always there. You know, we
It's
were talking like we could access it. It's a natural
right.
human capacity.
And the truth, when we look at it, the feeling of lack in our life, which we all feel like, if I was more productive, I get more done, or I could touch more people, or I would blah blah blah. We have a sense of what's lacking that's holding us back,
Mm-hmm.
but that itself is an illusion. That's not true. We have many sources of happiness right now. That when we touch into them, we can generate that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jennifer, I was going to offer a very short little practice right now. Just I like giving everyone. Jennifer put it so beautifully this much, like a little taste of just like, okay, Sid, that all sounds nice, like, but what's up? You know, how can we make this happen, right?
Right.
But we don't have to be a victim of all this toxic thinking. We can shift, right? So I would like to, I just wrote a little uh, guided, it'll be a little meditation, but don't get stressed. It's just a few phrases. If you could just be comfortable wherever you are and gently close your eyes if that feels good. Maybe you could gaze at something in front of you. That would be great. But just listen, and I'm going to offer phrases on our breath. And then you just think about the phrase and let it really wash over you. Can you embody the words? All right. So with our eyes gently closed, breathing in, I'm aware of my breath. Breathing out, I'm aware of my out breath. Just those simple words. We're all breathing right now. Our body's a miracle of evolution. We don't have to think about it, but we're breathing. So breathing in and of itself is a source of happiness, and it's always with us. So just be aware of your breath. Simple as that. Breathe in. I'm aware of the wonders of my body. Breathing out. I'm aware of the many experiences my body has offered me. physical body is also a miracle of evolution, and it is a source of happiness also. Breathing in, I'm aware of the many conditions that support me. Having a home, having shelter, education, running water. Breathing out, I'm aware of these many conditions and I am grateful. This is an example of using gratitude. These things that we're grateful for are here with us all the time. We lose sight, we don't remember. So we practice remembering. Breathing in, I'm aware of the many gestures of kindness, compassion that I receive and I also give out. Right? Breathing out, I am aware of this stream of awareness and love and compassion that I am a part of. Let that really, there's so many small things we do during the day where we're kind or compassionate, and we don't pay attention, but we do it a lot. And people are very kind and compassionate to us, very small things throughout the day. That's also a source of happiness that we forget. And finally, one last one, just aware of my own skills and talents. And as you breathe out, just acknowledge those skills and talents. We all have unique skills and talents, and we tend to minimize. But when we remember, like, oh, right, I am good at that. You know, even after a long day, maybe many things went wrong. But there's a lot to be grateful for. So breathing in, aware of this gorgeous in-breath. Breathing out, I smile. That's just a very short few phrases, then I feel better. Even, I was thinking of this morning, and that generated a sincere happiness in me, and I hope it did for you. But these simple things that we may feel, like Jennifer was saying, sort of like, oh, it may feel corny, or,
Yeah, metta can be difficult for. We talked about this earlier a lot.
mm-hmm.
And self metta practices, the compassion practices, self-compassion in particular, is something I've been really working on, and it does, for me at least, I have to practice it, because I will put it to the side. Like I prefer a concentration practice or open awareness practice or vipassana. I'd prefer a task oriented practice in a way. And so it's easy to say, I could do metta tomorrow, or self-compassion can wait. And yet we know how important it is.
Right. Our taking care of ourselves first generates the energy to be able to turn that outward. And about a week ago, I think it was last week, I was with the students at the school, and I was explaining to them about happiness and stress, that if we When we're feeling happy, the people around us feel happy. Our energy is happy. But if we're stressed or sad or angry, those feelings are also transmitted to everyone. Of course, our loved ones get the brunt of it. But as we move through the day, those little feelings are apparent to everyone. So we're transmitting out these negative feelings or difficult feelings. And if we spend a few moments remembering and generating happiness, we're also transmitting that to everyone that we meet and the animals, animals, and plants,
Plants. Yeah, I
Uh,
came home yesterday and all my plants were like,
they missed you.
yeah, yeah. It was interesting. And, they needed water and everything, but some of them weren't that dry. And so I thought it was
Hmm.
interesting. I feel like they perked up, and so
Yeah,
energy is so potent.
that's right. And it's we we don't have to be a victim to it. We have all of these seeds, the way my teacher puts it so beautifully, in our consciousness: seeds of happiness, seeds of despair, seeds of all the human emotions, right? And
Mhm.
of course, we're going to feel bad and be angry and hurt and have our heart broken. We're also going to be extremely joyful and have beautiful things happen to us, very small and wondrous, right? But it's being aware of what are we watering, right? Do we water the seeds of anger, sadness, or aggression, or jealousy? Or do we want to water the seeds of happiness and compassion and love and peace? It's also available to us. Um, and again, that also sounds like very hunky dory, but it goes back to, are we aware of what's happening in this present moment? That real awareness, right? And that is to be able to show up fully
Mhm.
and realize the fullness. It's a gentle balance of joy and despair or suffering, this beautiful balance in the middle where you see the miracle of life. And that is always a cause. It makes you happy. Noticing a baby smiling or a plant blossoming and being able to really be there
Mhm.
is amazing. Now, showing up when you're having difficult emotions is not as fun, of course, but it's important that we're aware and we can transform those feelings.
Um, yes. And 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 what we all find, in this human experience that we're having, sometimes that's so difficult to, of course there's a negativity bias, where there's a lot of conditioning. There's sometimes many patterns that aren't necessarily healthy, and we could get really entangled in the difficulties. So holding them skillfully is something that can be trained up and practiced. And we were talking a little about physical difficulties. We were talking about, certainly, we're a year into COVID.
Mhm.
Um, Many of us have had loved ones become very ill or pass on because of the virus. Some of us have been affected by the virus. We're now in this strange reality of, some of us are vaccinated, some of us are not vaccinated, some of us are waiting. There's a lot of unknowns, right? We're still sitting in this
Right.
uncertainty. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the last year for you and what's happening right now, and how COVID and the collective suffering that we've been experiencing has impacted you personally.
It's as Jennifer knows, I do. I have a chronic autoimmune issues that are, long autoimmune story. Many people have autoimmune issues, and you get things under bay, and you kind of move on. You find the right medication, and And so during COVID, I was teaching online. So that's why I'm here in New Orleans at the moment. So I've been able to teach from New Orleans, and I've been very isolated and very careful because I'm very high risk, of course. But I wasn't freaking out. I mean, I just followed the protocol and, um, but was careful with it all. And um, and then I was dealing with the students online, which was interesting to hold space for them. And I can go into a little more of that. But I was feeling their feelings of loneliness and isolation, where for me, the isolation was actually kind of a good thing. I was kind of enjoying being alone, and the introvert in me was like, ooh, I was able to practice whenever I wanted. I could read, there were many upsides in that realm for me. Um, and unfortunately, I have had an interruption in my medication due to pharmacy mailing things. And I ended up having a flare up, which we do with these sort of things, that really worsened. And I wasn't used to really feeling that bad. And then it was like, okay, this now, this is the practice, right? Now, this is what's happening. Right? Now, my body's having this reaction. Now, I can feel the flare up in my joints, in my brain, and in my eyes. And pain and that physical awareness really deepened my practice to sit with the pain, right? And be fully aware and not resist, right? This is my physical body. The teachings are that we bring this awareness. So I was able to watch these symptoms because they will move in my situation. Like a finger, I could feel a pain move and then it'll go away. And then in my toe or my knee. So it deepened my practice. The pain in my body gave me another anchor, I guess, in a way, to go deeper. Um, and then, so I was so fortunate. I got the Johnson and Johnson vaccine. I was so happy, and unfortunately, my body has reacted. Like many people have reactions, I know, and it worsened even more. So I've really had the brain fog, and I'll kind of go blank because my brain is swelling a bit. None of this will also pass. I don't feel like this is anyway life-threatening but my doctor suspects that I had COVID early on and that the vaccine is like exacerbating my issues. And, but again, now this is what's happening. We have to show up fully, right? Okay, wow, okay. So it's not going to end right now. It's going to flare and this will eventually go away. And the unfortunate thing is that my school where I teach is going into hybrid teaching and we have to teach in person, which I cannot. So I'm going to have to leave the school, which is breaking my heart really deeply. But again, that heartache is what's happening, right? In the past, it may have been this resistance and anger, right? Actually, now just saying this to you, Jennifer, I'm realizing that I don't know that I've had much anger arise from this. I didn't even notice. Maybe that's the practice, right? But I do know the heartache, the sadness, and the thing, but the anger wasn't as present. That may be a benefit of the practice and not having it watered in this realm of physical illness or difficulty. That's interesting to have a moment of
an insight.
Insight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but it's still like, wow, so now this is what's happening to my body. But all of the things we just spoke about are still present.
Yeah.
I'm here. This is such a humbling thing to share with you, from my heart. I feel like we're turning our friendship outward, but here I am, and all of this is true. Both are true.
Yeah.
right now my body is hurting and my eyes, I can't see that well. And then, but then I'm also so filled with happiness. And like, this is that fragile beauty that we get to experience in life.
Right. And just staying open.
Staying open.
So powerful and so healing.
Definitely. If you're so right, dude, to yeah, the healing, by not resisting what's happening, I feel like these symptoms aren't getting worse. And I'm letting them, you know, just arise, pass through, right? But as everything does, you know.
Right.
And I'm
It's
so grateful to
it's
have the
getting
practice.
caught up, right? It's getting caught up. What I find in my experience, like whether it's physical pain or emotional pain or even mental pain, it's when we get caught up in it that it gets really sticky.
Well, in the Buddhist teachings, that's the suffering,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the pain is real, pain is happening.
Yep.
Then what we add to it is the suffering,
The
right?
second
So
arrow. Yeah.
yeah, that the thinking and the worrying and the well, now I want it this way. I don't want it this way. I want it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I loved what you were talking about earlier. We got into this big conversation about the virus itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like the actual virus is in my body, is what you said. And it was so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the field. The virus is here.
Oh, and when we really are aware of our inner being, is the way Thich Nhat Hanh expresses it so beautifully. This is part of all of the world. We are in a global pandemic. This is a part of all of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it it alone, knowing first of all, it was happening. Okay, now it's happening to me. That reminds me I'm connected to everything. All the good stuff too. All the beautiful elements of the earth that are in me and the exchange of oxygen and my little animals are sitting here with me breathing and their hearts beating, but they're exhaling, I'm inhaling. We are all connected. And also in like when we spoke earlier about feelings, the happy all of this affects. So the knowing and letting the virus also be a teacher, right? Or a guide pointing me to remember, we're all connected.
Yeah.
That can be the gift of the situation if you go deeper, right?
Right. Right. We talked a little bit about collective suffering, the collective
Mm,
trauma of the experience, and also collective healing. And so,
right.
and then relating that back to the self-compassion practices, the metta practices towards ourselves and others. It, it's, we could get caught up in self-care. And so we have
Mm-hmm.
to acknowledge that it's important to care for ourselves. And if we set an intention that this time we spend in practice is of benefit to all, it shifts quite dramatically.
Yeah, exactly. That was beautifully put. And it's so true by taking care of this happiness and suffering. And another with the students, since I'm so fortunate to be able to teach these practices and learn how to articulate them to children and practice them over and over and watch the different ages and things. Their insight can be so wonderful. First of all, they were aware of suffering of the isolation for other students, and they were aware of how it could possibly be impacting and things I'd never thought of, that some students are home learning while also caring for their siblings and the parents weren't home. I hadn't really thought of that, and um, there's other scenarios in that realm that like, wow, they really are opening and aware, which was so beautiful. And then I spent time like, what are the benefits of this time, right? And how is this affecting these isolated children? But when you look, they are learning some beautiful things. They're learning how to be alone. I never learned that. I only wanted to be with people.
Mm-hmm.
Being alone was like with my, mind and anxiety and not knowing what was going to happen around me. I needed friends around, and I was good to go with whatever plan, or was happening. They were learning that they can be alone. Wow. I didn't think about that. That's resilient. Like they'll have some resilience in that, area. They are learning that they have to self-motivate to do things.
Mm-hmm.
No one's in the room helping them necessarily. I mean, if they're for a parent, whatever, but they're generally have to be on the computer and make it happen.
Right.
So they're all resourceful. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So I was like, oh yeah, that's really, and again, this time will change.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they going to gain from it? Some of these skills that we didn't gain, right? So it's the same thing. They're holding sadness and happiness, right? Now they're looking forward to going back and trying to keep it in balance. And you feel some kids flourishing, the introverts
Mm-hmm.
are like so happy and don't want to go back, right?
Yeah.
Then the kids that I just know are so social and I watch it, just their hearts breaking. They're just dying to get in there and
Yeah.
uh but the whole thing, you just have to show up and feel the whole thing. And I was, hopefully, or getting the students to have a sense of that, that you can have both, and um, it's not either or. And we know as young people, emotions are big, and things
Right.
are seniors, and it's their last year. They have these big emotions, right? But that those big emotions are wonderful. You don't have to act on every one of them. And believe it or not, that big emotion is not the same big emotion tomorrow, or in a year, right? Uh, so it's wonderful in that way, getting to be with them, but also the learning. Like I was telling you, I'm never comfortable with the word teacher or anything like that, but I feel like a host. Like I have this group of kids, I'm going to host, and we have an idea. We're going to contemplate, and then we're going to practice. And then so much, it's a give and take. And some days, one of the students will have such a great offering of insight, and you're just like, wow, I'm the guest, they're the host, you know, that's so fun. I mean, that's what I love.
Yeah. I mean, you always talk about the kids, and
Mm.
I know how much you enjoy that work. And I know how challenging it, I have 4 kids, for those of you that don't know. And I know how challenging it can be. Um, and yet the practices can be really simplified,
Mm.
you know?
Mm.
And I think you really embody that, Sid. I don't know if you realize that about yourself, but and I wonder how much influence Thich Nhat Hanh has had on you, and how that kind of moves out of you, that simplicity, that down to earth relatability.
The Thank you so much. I mean, uh, again, it's true, and everything's true and not true. So, yeah. But the I when I was in school in La Jolla at UCSD, and
Mhm.
that's when I took yoga, and Buddhism was on my mind. That was a time of Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance and Jack Kerouac, and I was coming from Louisiana to California, and I let my hair grow, and I was surfing, and I was down for the whole thing, right? But the Dharma and that introduction, I really started reading. And I started more in Tibetan Buddhism. And over this 30 years, I moved through different lineages and practices. And I never felt exactly aligned. the practices were beneficial and definitely a part of me. And I'm so Buddhist curious that I'm open to all teachers. And I was part of Shambhala for a while with Pema Chodron. It guided me there and for years. And but during that time, Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings were the ones that I was resonating more. And I was isolated a lot. There was no Sangha, there was no anything. So this was on my own in Louisiana, and I was caring for my dying parents. And but those seeds from Thich Nhat Hanh kept growing. But I felt this closeness to Pema Chodron, and my parents had just passed away, and Pema Chodron, I got to see her speak, and she said, at some point you have to get in a boat with your practice, right? And here I am with all my hands and different things and yoga and all interesting and beneficial, but it was all over. And it was like my mother was saying it to me, and she just said, you have to get in a boat. And I just was like, Thich Nhat Hanh is my father. This is my calling. It was just crystal clear. And of course, I'm still involved in Tibet House here, and I'll teach meditation and help the monks. And so I'm still open, but the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh it has been my home, and his way of articulating his beliefs. I read the 5 mindfulness trainings that were his core beliefs, and then the 14. And when I read them, there was nothing in my body that got tense. I was home. This is how I felt since I was very young and a child. I had the same feeling. And so from then, it just got very serious, and I found a beautiful Sangha that I'm fortunate of people with deep practice and long practice and really knowing, and became friends at my Deer Park, and it really has been. And I hope that his teachings are being transmitted through me, like they are for all of us, all of our spiritual teachers and teachers. We transmit what we learn, and maybe our point of view is a little unique, but they're coming through us, right? We're sharing. So it's definitely my home, and his gentleness and it just is inspirational, and I get a little overwhelmed talking about it.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Yeah. The Sangha, the importance of the Sangha, right? Would you define that for just anyone watching that's just not sure what that means?
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. So you and I, it's so funny how she and I can be very in sync, but it's just amazing. This weekend, one of my mentors, Alex, was leading the Sangha. So a Sangha is just a group. We get together and practice. There's no religion involved. We're just practicing the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, and we read some of his writings, and we share, and support each other. So it's really wonderful. Meditate, it's really sweet. But this past Saturday, Alex was leading, and he's incredibly smart, deep practice, and his whole offering was about vows that we take, and the vows we make to ourselves every day. Like, what is the vow that you're really living out right now, right? Like today, is it, I'm going to be happy today, or I'm going to arrive in the present moment? And we may have, these are the things that inspire us, and or that spiritual or deep motivation, right? And sometimes we're aware, sometimes we're not. So Alex offers this beautiful thing I love this Sangha, these people have become so dear to me. And they, as he's sharing in this, and I'm looking on the screen and I'm seeing like there is this sister practitioner, Mary, and she's so solid. Mary is strong, and then the other friend, Harry, is like, she's like this warm mother, and it just felt like each person in the Sangha was a part of me when I needed strength or when I needed, and we collect that energy together to support each other. And the Buddha, the three jewels in Buddhism is the teaching of the Buddha, uh, and the Sangha, all right? And well, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. But I was feeling the Sangha, and I was going through this time, and I felt so supported and loved, and that is the gift of it, right? And then that Saturday was one of my amazing days in the practice, and I had a second Sangha with the teachers, and it's like an international group. And then I felt very connected to them, and a lot I've just met, right?
Yeah.
Then the third Sangha in the day is a Sangha in Australia, and it's called Rain Bodhi, and it's a queer Sangha, but it's all versions. We have monks from all different lineages and beautiful nun who's just left the practice spoke, Melina, and she was a nun at Blue Cliff. And oh my gosh, she was, so it was a whole day of just these amazing, but the energy, and it's like we even feel this Sangha like in a classroom. We create these Sanghas, right? These are just way more specific, and your family's a Sangha, but I hope that was clear. I don't know.
Beautiful. Yeah. And this is a Sangha right here, all of us
Right.
together right now and sharing space and energy. And that's what's been most interest. It's been so interesting to me over the last year how energy can be exchanged and shared collectively through Zoom. And I'm so grateful for this technology company that has kept us sane in the last year. I mean, I can't imagine. My kids and I, excuse me, talked often about like, gosh, if this would have been 100 years ago in the last pandemic, what? I mean, that was
Yeah.
probably a lot worse, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I am with you. I am blown away that this is possible, and you feel the connections, and
Yeah.
wow. And I was very Zoom resistant.
Right.
you
Well,
know,
we both were.
I
Right?
don't like camera on. And
Yeah.
and now I'm on Zoom a lot a week. I have
Yeah.
kind of Zoom fatigue, but I do. I'm so grateful too. I mean, my gosh, look at us. We're all over right now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing. And I also want to be mindful of our time. Can you believe 40? So Sid and I talked for like 2 hours this morning. and
Um,
now it's almost 10 of 3. So I want to open it up so that our audience can ask questions and interact. And I'm going to check our chat. And we have a question from Christine Keisinger. So
Hey,
I'll just read
Christine.
it. Yeah. And she said, Sid, your teacher is such a powerful force on this planet. I'm wondering if you ever had the opportunity to meet Thich and what that was like. Even if you have not met him, I'm certain that meeting teachers he has trained must have been an incredible experience. You do radiate his presence. I think we all agree on that.
Thank you so much, Christine. You're so kind. And I years ago, the monastics would travel to Los Angeles and Thich would give a Dharma talk, and then the monastics would sing. And so I was fortunate enough to be there when he was in Los Angeles. So I didn't get to really meet him personally, but I was in his energy in that gathering. It was so incredibly powerful. And we all know powerful teachers and energy. But then there's the one that just walking, you feel the presence and the awareness and the kindness and the love, and sitting and speaking and the monks singing. I literally sat in tears. I was so overwhelmed by it, and actually felt a monastic calling in that moment. I was really like, why am I not there? I'm like, I was in my mind. Of course, here we go, right? The negative thinking. Like, I made a horrible mistake. I was supposed to be a monk. What am I doing? Right? Uh, but it was so genuine, and the transmission in that event. Wow. And those teachers and practitioners, and now being in the lineage for a while, I've become friendly with a number of the monks that are very helpful to me, and have been guiding me, and um, left a message for me today. They knew I was going to speak, and they were going to try. I don't know if Brother Freedom is here, or Brother Beast, but they just gave their support, and I appreciate it so much. And they're practicing for all of us, right? Just like we're practicing for everyone, it's just more focused, but they're there. It's for everyone. So when you get that experience and feel that real focused energy, that open, concentrated awareness, it's just wonderful.
Yeah. Sid, earlier today we talked about presence and how healing just full attention is.
Mm. Mm. I know Jennifer and I, we were speaking about, in the same realm of happiness and stress, and being a child with trauma. Everyone has trauma, we know, in different degrees, but we never know how it affects someone. Being in a stressful household for me growing up, I had to always feel out like what was happening, right? Was my father angry, or was it going to be directed at me? Or, and then I had to protect my mom. So you get these skills of like, here I go. And then now as an adult, I have to be careful because I feel like everything is my responsibility to make everyone happy. Even Christmas, if I don't do it right and then talk to everybody, then I've let the whole community down, because this Christmas is my problem, and then all the way to small levels. But discovering in Thich Nhat Hanh's practicing of deep listening, and that your full presence for someone can heal them. Not speaking, not fixing, nothing, holding, being aware, and letting that person fully express their sorrow or anger or whatever's happening, and you are just there and listen deeply. That will provide healing. That will transform. You don't have to answer. I always want to give a solution. I always, I was actually, I can't believe this is coming to my mind, Jennifer, but here in New Orleans, I had a new gardener that I wanted to work with. I'm working on a whole Zen thing here, of course. And so here we are in the backyard. Then he starts telling me he has back trouble and things. So I'm in the backyard. I'm laying on the ground, showing him butterfly pose, right? Then I'm like, but you have to sit quietly at night. You've got to, and I said, put your legs up the wall, open your chest. This is me like trying to, find someone to work with me, but I'm on the ground. You've got to do this, I'm busy helping them, right? Which is still, right, there's just a balance, right?
Yeah. I have one more question, and this is a great question to anchor the end of our time together today. And this is from Sarah. And she asks or says, thank you for sharing your joy with us today and every day. What do you find to be the most helpful practice to cultivate happiness?
Well, today, it is always what I offered to taste of an amuse-bouche of meditation with this sort of gratitude. But it's really not just thinking like, oh, if you'd be grateful, you'd be happy. That's not it, because everyone's like, just be grateful, just breathe, that, no. But this sincere arriving in this present moment and seeing. And even as I said these words, the piece of paper is right here. And it's just, this paper was a dream. How did this paper get here? How am I here on this thing, connected and enjoying being with you and anyone watching? When I arrive fully here and I'm not in my mind, like, oh my God, I'm nervous. I don't like being on Zoom and I don't like being interviewed. But when I relax into my body and I'm aware of what's happening and I'm not trying to change it, peace and happiness comes.
Sid, would you like to walk us through the metta phrases that you shared earlier?
Oh, yeah. I just had a little closing, and thank you everyone for joining us. It means so much to me, and I feel your energy. And that, of course, is healing. So if you'd like to, we'll end how we started, but just upright position. Maybe gently close your eyes and let yourself settle a bit. Been listening a lot. Whatever you're doing, you've been probably moving around. Just enjoy a moment of stillness at this right now. The stillness is available, and we can shift gears, not forever, just for a few minutes. This won't even be a few minutes. Just briefly. Feel your body breathing. Maybe you hear a sound. Just let the sound go. The sounds arise and pass away like everything else. Body's always breathing. Physical body is here. May life surprise you today. May a sense of grace just come out of nowhere in the middle of your daily tasks. May a sense of peace just find you in the unlikeliest of places. May a sense of courage and renewal find you. And may love surround you. And may gentleness and returning to quietness and a restoring of the stillness that is with you always, forever, be with you. Namaste, my beautiful friends.
Thank you so much, Sid. I love spending time with you today. Thank you.
Oh no, what a treat.
It was such a treat. Thank you all so much for being here with us today. We will be posting this interview,
Hey, Jackson.
the recording, on our blog, and we'll share it out with you with all of the links to get in touch with Sid.
I hope to see y'all
coming through. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you guys.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Peace is with you.